Marcus Hale had never expected to be the subject of intergalactic laughter. In the quiet hum of his small workshop on Earth, surrounded by scattered tools and half-finished projects, he had been a man of ordinary life. An engineer by trade, Marcus spent his days repairing machines, solving problems, and thinking in precise, logical ways. Yet in the blink of an eye, his world shifted from the familiar to the unimaginable. The message had arrived without warning. A shimmering holographic projection, far larger than anything his modest Earth technology could produce, appeared in his living room. The projection carried an alien seal, a spiral of iridescent light that pulsed with authority. "Marcus Hale," the voice said. It was neither male nor female, its tone impossible to place, yet it carried a strange weight. "You have been assigned a task." Marcus blinked. "Assigned by whom?" "The Galactic Coalition," the voice replied. "And your task is unique." Before Marcus could ask more, the projection shifted, revealing a figure suspended in light. She was regal even in her downfall. Her hair, a cascade of silver strands, seemed to shimmer with its own energy. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting a depth of intelligence and power. Marcus did not recognize the species, though the Coalition claimed she was a queen, one of the most powerful in their galaxy. "This," the voice continued, "is Leora, the fallen queen. You are to care for her. She is fragile but dangerous. We watch with great interest to see if a human can succeed where others have failed." Marcus stared, unable to move at first. The queen's gaze met his, and for a moment he felt the weight of 1,000 expectations. The aliens' cruel joke was clear. They were testing him, mocking humanity by giving him a powerful being he could barely understand. Yet beneath the shock, Marcus felt a spark of curiosity. Humans had always found ways to rise above challenges, and perhaps this was simply another problem to solve. The transportation was instantaneous. One moment Marcus was in his workshop. The next he stood in a colossal chamber aboard a vessel larger than any city he had ever imagined. The walls pulsed with energy and lights moved along circuits that defied known physics. Hovering platforms, tools of unimaginable complexity, and strange devices surrounded him. At the center of it all was Leora. She did not speak. Her eyes, glowing like distant stars, regarded him with a mixture of disdain and boredom. "You are the human?" she asked finally, her voice melodic but sharp. "I was told I would be tended by a weak creature." Marcus swallowed hard. I'm here to help," he said cautiously. "I may not know your species, but I can learn." A soft laugh escaped her lips. It was not cruel, yet it carried the weight of someone who had never known failure. "Learn?" she repeated. "Do you think you can understand what I am? What I once was?" "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "But I do know how to fix problems. And I will try." For the first time, Leora's eyes widened slightly. Perhaps she had expected fear, groveling, or panic. Not quiet confidence. The first days were difficult. Marcus studied her, observing the alien physiology, noting the subtle changes in her energy. Leora, despite her royal bearing, was clearly struggling. The Coalition had stripped her of certain powers and her body was unstable. She moved with grace but appeared tense, almost as if she were holding herself together with sheer willpower. Marcus quickly realized that this was no ordinary repair. He could not simply replace a part or adjust a machine. Leora's body and mind were intertwined with energies he barely understood. He spent hours reading alien data logs, cross-referencing symbols and building tools to measure fluctuations in her energy fields. Leora watched him silently at first. She made small, sarcastic comments, testing his patience, yet Marcus endured. He treated every question as a puzzle, every challenge as a chance to learn. Slowly, he began to notice patterns, the rise and fall of her energy, the way she reacted to certain stimuli, the way her gaze softened when he approached her with calm assurance rather than fear. It was during one long night in the observation chamber that Marcus had his first breakthrough. Using a combination of human intuition and mechanical skill, he devised a stabilizing device, a simple frame with energy conduits and sensors. When activated, it interacted with Leora's internal energy without harming her, allowing her body to regain balance for short periods. "Why are you helping me?" she asked quietly that evening, sitting on a raised platform. The glow around her dimmed, as if she were losing some of the tension she had carried. "Because no one else will." Marcus replied simply. "Because I don't believe in giving up, because Someone has to care enough to try. Leora studied him for a long moment, then looked away. Perhaps it was the first time she had felt something other than contempt for her captors or pride in herself. Perhaps it was the first time she had seen hope in another being, but the coalition was not watching silently. Alien envoys, curious and derisive, appeared at intervals, questioning his progress and mocking his methods. A human tending a queen? What an absurd experiment, one of them said, its voice vibrating through the chamber. Marcus ignored them, focused on his work. He discovered that the envoy's presence caused subtle energy disturbances in Leora, which he had to counteract. It was a lesson in patience, observation, and improvisation, skills humans often underestimated, but Marcus wielded naturally, each small victory, restoring a pulse of energy, stabilizing a limb, calming a flaring reaction, was met with incredulous stares from the aliens. Yet Marcus remained steady. He spoke little, but his actions communicated competence, care, and resilience. Over time, the bond between human and queen began to grow. Leora, who had once regarded him as insignificant, started observing him with interest. She noticed the way he approached problems with creativity rather than brute force, the way he listened to her needs even when they were unspoken, and the way he never flinched in the face of ridicule. "You are unusual," she admitted one evening. Her voice was softer than before, tinged with curiosity rather than derision. "And you are not as invincible as you think," Marcus replied gently. "No one is. That's why we survive. That's why humans survive." The words hung in the air. There was no arrogance, no challenge, only honesty. Leora's glowing eyes dimmed slightly, as if the walls she had built around herself were beginning to crack. Marcus realized that caring for Leora was not just about repairing her body. It was about understanding her, respecting her, and giving her a reason to trust again. Each day he documented her responses, experimented cautiously, and refined his techniques. The alien's mockery continued, but it began to lose power over both of them. He also began to notice the human traits within himself that gave him an edge. Persistence, empathy, and adaptability, qualities that could not be quantified by the coalition's metrics, allowed him to see solutions where others saw impossibility. Leora began to rely on him, not only because she had no choice, but because she saw that he could lift her, in ways the galaxy had not imagined. By the end of the first cycle, a period equivalent to several Earth weeks, Marcus had achieved something remarkable. Leora could sustain short bursts of her former energy without the stabilizer. She had begun to speak openly, not with anger or sarcasm, but with questions, curiosity, and subtle humor. The aliens had expected humiliation, failure, and chaos. Instead, they saw something they had not anticipated. A human persevering, unflinching, and slowly earning the respect of a fallen queen. Marcus knew the journey had only begun. The energy imbalance was still delicate, the coalition was still watching, and Leora's powers were far from fully restored. Yet he felt a quiet determination. Humans had survived against impossible odds on their own world. Perhaps they could rise higher still, even among the stars. As he adjusted the final settings on his latest device, Marcus looked at Leora. She met his gaze without hostility, and for the first time, there was something like trust between them. "Tomorrow," Marcus said softly. "We try again." Leora inclined her head. "I will follow you, human," she replied. "But know this, I will not be easily contained." "I wouldn't want you to be," Marcus said with a small smile. "That's the whole point." In the quiet glow of the chamber, surrounded by technology and alien scrutiny, the unlikely partnership had begun. What had started as a cruel joke, a human tasked with tending a fallen queen, was transforming into something far greater. Marcus did not yet know the full extent of what they could achieve together. But one thing was certain: humanity had arrived in a galaxy that had doubted it, and it had begun to shine. And somewhere deep in his chest, Marcus felt the first thrill of possibility, the knowledge that humans, even against impossible odds, could lift others higher than anyone had imagined. The next morning, Marcus woke early, his mind already racing with ideas. The chamber around him was silent except for the low hum of alien machinery, a sound both strange and comforting. Leora was already awake, floating lightly above her platform, her silver hair glowing faintly in the soft lights. "You are punctual," she said. her voice still carrying its usual sharpness. Most humans would have wasted half the day. Marcus smiled faintly. I like to start early. There's a lot to do, she tilted her head. And what exactly do you think you can do today? I am still broken. I don't believe in broken, Marcus said simply. I believe in solving problems. Leora watched him silently for a moment, her eyes flicking over the tools and devices he had arranged. We shall see if your confidence matches your skill, she said. Marcus began his day by studying the measurements he had taken the previous night. Leora's energy patterns were erratic, fluctuating in ways no human or alien had been able to stabilize. Marcus realized he needed to understand not only her body but also her mind. The two were connected in ways far more intricate than any machine he had ever worked on. He decided to observe her closely, recording her reactions to small changes in the environment, temperature, and energy flows. Leora floated patiently, watching him manipulate his devices, occasionally commenting, sometimes sarcastically, sometimes curiously. You are strange, she said at one point. Most who try to help me are afraid. Or cruel. You are neither. Marcus paused, carefully adjusting a delicate sensor. Fear doesn't help anyone. And cruelty solves nothing. If you want to recover, we need to work together. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Work together? Humans are supposed to be insignificant, remember? Insignificant? Marcus echoed, not offended, only amused. Maybe. But small things can do big work if we try hard enough. Leora's glowing eyes softened for a moment, almost as if she were considering his words. The real challenge began when Marcus tried to repair her energy core. Unlike human machines, which obeyed the laws of physics and logic, Leora's body responded to an energy that seemed alive. It pulsed, shifted, and sometimes resisted even the smallest changes. Marcus had built a new stabilizing device, one more sophisticated than the first. It was a frame of glowing conduits and sensors, designed to interact gently with her energy without forcing it. But when he activated it, the energy flared unpredictably, making the chamber tremble. Careful, Leora warned, lifting herself slightly off her platform as sparks of energy danced around her. Marcus swallowed, heart pounding. I'm trying to adjust it, just a little. For hours he adjusted, measured, and recalibrated, testing different frequencies and patterns. Each failure taught him something new. He discovered that her energy was tied to her emotions and memories. When she felt frustration, it fluctuated violently. When she felt calm, it stabilized slightly. You mean I have to feel calm? Leora asked, her voice a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. Yes, Marcus said gently, and I can help with that too. But it takes trust. Trust. The word hung in the air. Leora had trusted no one since her fall. But something about Marcus, the patience in his movements, the calm in his voice, began to chip away at her defenses. By the second cycle of the day, Marcus had made small but significant progress. The device maintained short bursts of energy without causing instability. It was not perfect, but it was a start. Leora's posture relaxed slightly, and her gaze lingered on Marcus longer than before. Perhaps humans are not as foolish as I thought, she admitted quietly. And perhaps queens are not as untouchable as they appear, Marcus replied with a small smile. The subtle humor between them lightened the tension in the chamber, though the aliens of the coalition were still watching. Observers arrived at intervals, their expressions unreadable, their tone dripping with condescension. A human handling a queen? One of them said, its voice vibrating with ridicule. This will end in failure. Surely the weak human cannot maintain her stability. Marcus ignored them, focusing on Leora. He knew that distraction or fear would worsen her energy fluctuations. What mattered most was their work together, not the whispers of skeptics. The real test came when Marcus tried to expand the device's capability. He wanted to stabilize Leora's energy for longer periods, allowing her to move freely and regain some of her former strength. This required improvisation. He combined alien technology he barely understood with human engineering principles, creating a hybrid system that was both elegant and unpredictable. The first attempt was disastrous. Energy surged violently, throwing Marcus backward and causing the chamber to shudder. Sparks danced across the walls, and Leora cried out, struggling to maintain her balance. I told you this was impossible, she exclaimed, panic edging her voice. Marcus shook his head, wiping sweat from his brow. Impossible only means It hasn't been done yet. He tried again, adjusting carefully using his knowledge of resonance, flow, and timing. Slowly, the energy began to harmonize. It pulsed in rhythm with her own life force, neither overwhelming nor faltering. Leora's glow steadied and the tremors subsided. You did it?" she whispered, astonished. "I feel stronger." Marcus offered a small smile. "Not fully yet, but we're getting there. Step by step." Over the following days, Marcus refined his methods. He learned that small changes in her environment, light, sound, and even vibrations, could influence her energy. By creating a calm and supportive space, he enabled her body to recover more efficiently. Leora, once distant and proud, began to observe him carefully, asking questions about human ways, about his reasoning, and even about Earth. "I do not understand your world," she admitted one night, her eyes reflecting a faint starlight. "But I see resilience there. A strange, stubborn courage." Marcus chuckled. "That's humans in a nutshell. We may not be the strongest, but we find ways to survive and grow." For the first time, Leora seemed to consider her fall not as the end, but as a beginning. Marcus's patience, his determination, and his belief in possibility were changing her perspective. However, the coalition's ridicule did not stop. Envoys continued to test Marcus, introducing obstacles meant to sabotage his work. One day, a device malfunctioned deliberately, sending a shockwave through the chamber. Leora's energy surged dangerously. "Marcus!" she shouted, struggling to maintain balance. Marcus reacted instantly. He leaped to adjust the device, rerouting energy conduits and stabilizing the surge. Sweat ran down his face, but his hands worked with precision and calm. Slowly, the energy returned to a safe state. "You saved me," Leora said, her voice trembling slightly. "Not just your skill, but your courage." Marcus shook his head. "It's not courage. It's focus. And caring. That makes all the difference." The alien envoys watched silently, some in disbelief, others in quiet admiration. No one expected a human to manage such a delicate balance, much less restore hope to a fallen queen. By the end of the second cycle, Leora could maintain energy stability for hours. She moved more freely, her strength returning in small increments. Marcus realized that he had accomplished something remarkable, not just repairing a body, but rebuilding trust and confidence. Leora began to rely on him, not because she had to, but because she saw that he could lift her higher than anyone else had. "Tomorrow," Marcus said as he adjusted the final settings of the device, "we try something new. We push a little further." Leora inclined her head, her silver hair catching the chamber's light. "I will follow you, human. Not because I am forced, but because I choose to." Marcus smiled faintly. "That's all I ask. Step by step we'll get there. And when we do, you will be stronger than ever." As the night fell over the chamber, the two unlikely allies rested in quiet reflection. Marcus knew the challenges ahead were far greater. Alien politics, unstable energy patterns, and the coalition's ongoing skepticism. Yet he also knew something more important. Humans could persevere where others failed. And in doing so, they could elevate those around them. Even fallen queens. For the first time, Marcus felt the depth of human potential, not just in himself, but in what he could achieve with trust, ingenuity, and patience. And for the first time, Leora felt a glimmer of hope, not just in her own recovery, but in a future where humans were more than the galaxy had ever believed. The days passed in a steady rhythm, yet every moment carried tension and discovery. Marcus had learned to anticipate Leora's energy fluctuations before they occurred, and Leora, in turn, had begun to trust him in ways she had never trusted anyone. Their bond, forged in patience and careful observation, was becoming stronger. Today was different. Marcus had a plan that he had been refining in secret, a method to help Leora regain more than just stability. He hoped to enhance her energy, not with force but through synchronization with her natural rhythms. It was a risky experiment, one the coalition would surely criticize if they knew. But Marcus believed in human intuition. "Are you ready?" he asked, arranging the device and adjusting the conduits for the new calibration. Leora's glowing eyes studied him. "I am ready," she said. "Though I warn you, if this fails, I will not forgive carelessness." Marcus smiled faintly. "No carelessness here. Only attention and patience." The first attempt was cautious. Marcus initiated the device slowly, allowing the energy conduits to interact gently with Leora's core. At first, nothing happened. Leora floated silently, her posture tense, her gaze sharp. Then subtly her glow brightened. It was faint at first, a mere flicker, but it signaled success. Marcus's heart raced. Good, that's a start. Keep calm, Leora, let it flow naturally. She took a deep breath, a gesture human in origin yet somehow fitting, and relaxed. Slowly the energy began to pulse in rhythm with the device, stabilizing at a higher level than before. Marcus adjusted the settings, fine-tuning the frequency to match her unique signature. The transformation was gradual but undeniable. Leora's strength returned in waves, each stronger than the last. She lifted herself with more confidence, moved with fluidity, and for the first time her power seemed to resonate outward, touching the very chamber around her. I feel... Leora paused, struggling to find words. I feel alive, stronger than I thought possible. Marcus nodded. This is just the beginning. Step by step, we'll reach full restoration. For the first time, Leora smiled. Not the small, polite smile she had shown occasionally, but a true smile, one of relief, pride, and wonder. Marcus felt a surge of satisfaction. Humanity had a way of surprising the galaxy, even when dismissed or mocked. The Coalition's envoys, however, were growing impatient. They had come to expect failure, and now they were forced to witness progress. One envoy, a tall, angular being with shifting eyes, leaned over a monitoring panel. A human. Enhancing a queen? It murmured in disbelief. This cannot be allowed. He is dangerous. Marcus ignored them. He had learned long ago that fear of oversight would hinder his work. What mattered was Leora, her recovery, and their trust. Over the following days, Marcus experimented with new techniques. He used subtle vibrations, adjusted chamber lighting, and introduced harmonized energy waves to encourage Leora's natural flow. With each adjustment, her energy grew stronger, her movements more assured. One afternoon, as Marcus monitored her readings, Leora floated above the platform, her silver hair flowing like liquid starlight. You have changed the way I see humans, she said softly. I thought your kind weak, unpredictable, limited, but you are capable of things no one else can imagine. Marcus paused, considering her words. We survive because we find ways. We adapt, and sometimes we care enough to keep trying no matter what. Her eyes shimmered. I see that now. And perhaps I was wrong to doubt you. Their partnership began to attract attention beyond the immediate observers. Other aliens, once dismissive, started whispering among themselves. They noted Marcus's ingenuity, his calm under pressure, and the remarkable progress of the fallen queen. Leora, once proud and distant, began to speak more openly about her past, sharing stories of her reign and the trials she had faced. Marcus listened patiently, learning not only about her species but also about leadership, resilience, and the burden of power. You are a strange species, Leora admitted one evening. Yet I respect you. Not for your strength, but for your persistence. Your courage, your humanity. Marcus smiled. I am just doing what I think is right. But thank you. That means a lot coming from a queen. But transformation was not without obstacles. One morning, Marcus detected a sudden surge in Leora's energy, a sign that her body was struggling to contain the newfound strength. If uncontrolled, it could damage her permanently. Marcus, something is wrong, Leora said, panic creeping into her voice. He moved quickly, adjusting the conduits and calibrating the device to absorb excess energy. Sweat dripped from his brow, but his focus was absolute. Slowly, the surge stabilized and Leora's glow returned to a safe rhythm. You saved me again, she said, her voice trembling with gratitude. Not by skill alone, but by your presence. You are steady, unshakable. Marcus shook his head. It's not me. It's humans. We endure, we adapt, and we never give up on what matters. The progress continued. Leora's power was no longer just stabilized, it was expanding. She moved with grace and precision, her energy radiating outward, touching the chamber in waves. Marcus watched, fascinated. The alien technology he had combined with human engineering principles had created a unique harmony, something even the Coalition had not anticipated. Marcus, Leora said, her eyes glowing brightly. I can feel it. I am stronger. I can move freely. I am myself again. And more. Marcus nodded. This is what happens when humans and aliens work together. We lift each other higher than we could alone. The coalition envoys who had expected failure were now visibly alarmed. They whispered urgently among themselves, debating what action to take. But the transformation of Leora was undeniable. She had regained not only her energy but also her confidence, her presence, and her strength. One envoy spoke sharply. "This human, he is no longer insignificant. He has changed her, enhanced her, empowered her. This is unprecedented." Marcus ignored them. He had no time for politics. His focus remained on Leora, on the steady improvement of her abilities, and on the trust they had built together. One evening, after a long cycle of adjustments, Leora floated above the platform, her energy flowing perfectly in rhythm with the stabilizing device. She looked at Marcus with a mixture of pride and wonder. "You have done more than any alien could," she said softly. "I am not only healed, I am stronger, more aware, more in control. You lifted me higher than I ever thought possible." Marcus smiled faintly. "That's the point. Not just to restore, but to improve, to show what is possible when we try together." Leora's eyes softened, a rare display of vulnerability. "I trust you completely, and I admire you. Humans may be underestimated, but you have shown me remarkable strength, courage, intelligence, compassion." Marcus shook his head. "It's not just me. It's humanity. And it's what we can do when we care about others." The final days of this phase brought even greater accomplishments. Leora could now move freely, lift objects many times her size, and manipulate her energy in ways that had been impossible since her fall. Marcus had not only stabilized her but enhanced her abilities, proving the unexpected potential of human ingenuity. Together, they tested her limits carefully, always ensuring safety and balance. Each success brought new respect from the alien observers and a deepening bond between human and queen. "You are remarkable," Leora said one evening, her silver hair glowing in the chamber's light. "Not only in skill but in heart, you inspire trust, loyalty, strength, qualities that I thought only leaders could possess." Marcus smiled. "Those qualities exist in everyone. Sometimes you just have to see them, and sometimes it takes a challenge to bring them out." By the end of this cycle, Marcus and Leora had transformed from uneasy partners into a true team. The Queen's energy was stable, her power fully returning, and the mockery of the coalition had begun to lose its sting. Marcus had not only repaired her body but also renewed her spirit. "Tomorrow," Marcus said, "we begin preparing for what comes next. There will be challenges, but together, we are ready." Leora nodded, her eyes reflecting both determination and respect. "Yes, together, we can face anything." And in that quiet moment, as the chamber hummed with restored energy, Marcus realized something profound. Humans were capable of lifting others higher than any machine, any technology, or any alien expectation could, not by strength alone, but by courage, patience, and heart. The fallen queen had risen again, and humanity had proven itself in ways the galaxy would never forget. The galaxy was restless. Rumors of a fallen queen restored by a human had spread like wildfire. Some were curious, others skeptical, and a few openly hostile. Yet Marcus and Leora paid little attention to gossip. Their focus remained on preparation for challenges that no one yet understood fully. Leora's power had returned, even grown stronger than before, thanks to Marcus's ingenuity. But strength alone was not enough. The galaxy was unpredictable, and threats lurked in the shadows. Rogue fleets, unstable alliances, and hidden dangers that could strike at any moment. Marcus knew that they needed strategy, courage, and unity. One morning, while reviewing readings on the chamber's panels, Marcus noticed a pattern in the galaxy's energy currents. A fleet, rogue and dangerous, was approaching, a force strong enough to threaten multiple star systems. The coalition, despite its advanced technology, had failed to stop them. "This fleet," Marcus muttered, studying the data. "They're powerful, but they're predictable. If we act carefully, we can stop them." Leora hovered beside him, her glowing eyes sharp and focused. "Are you suggesting a human strategy against the most feared fleet in the galaxy?" she asked, a faint trace of amusement in her voice. Marcus shrugged. "Humans have a way of solving impossible problems. We adapt, improvise, and we don't give up." They began planning immediately. Marcus sketched out a strategy using both human logic and Leora's alien insights. He studied the fleet's formation, predicted their movements, and devised ways to counter their attacks. Leora contributed her restored powers, energy manipulations, and knowledge of the Coalition's tactics. Together they became a formidable team, one combining intellect, courage, and power. The envoys of the Coalition observed, some in disbelief, some in quiet admiration. "A human leading a queen into battle?" One whispered. "This should not be possible." Marcus ignored them. He had learned long ago that human determination was stronger than alien ridicule. What mattered was the plan, and the trust he had built with Leora. When the rogue fleet arrived, chaos erupted. Ships larger than cities cut through the stars, weapons glowing with deadly energy. Most civilizations would have panicked, retreating in fear, but Marcus and Leora were calm. "Follow my lead," Marcus said, gripping the controls of their command interface. "Focus on your strength, Leora. I'll guide the tactics." Leora nodded, her energy flaring brightly. "I will trust your strategy, human. Lead and I shall follow." Together, they moved through the battlefield with precision. Marcus anticipated enemy maneuvers, directing Leora to strike at weak points, block attacks, and manipulate energy flows. Her restored power, enhanced by Marcus's devices, allowed her to control entire sections of space with ease. The first engagement was intense. Rogue ships fired with immense power, but Marcus had predicted their formation. Leora redirected their energy attacks, creating shields and barriers, while Marcus guided her to exploit openings. One by one, enemy vessels were disabled, their crews stunned by the coordination between human and queen. "This is impossible," one enemy commander shouted. "How can a human guide such power?" Marcus did not answer. He focused on the next move, anticipating attacks and maintaining calm under pressure. Leora, empowered and precise, executed each maneuver with deadly efficiency. The rogue fleet faltered, unable to match their combined strength. Hours passed in the battle, though it felt like minutes. Marcus continued to refine their strategy in real time, responding to changes in the fleet's behavior. Leora, moving with grace and confidence, grew stronger with each success. She no longer relied solely on the stabilizing devices. Marcus had trained her to harmonize her energy with intuition, allowing her to act instinctively. At one point, a massive vessel attempted to flank them. Marcus anticipated the move and directed Leora's energy toward it. A wave of controlled power struck the ship, disabling it without destruction. The enemy crew surrendered, astonished by the precision and restraint of their attackers. "You are remarkable," Leora said, her voice soft but filled with awe. "Not just your mind, but your heart. You have lifted me, guided me, and together, we have done what no one else could." Marcus smiled faintly. "It's not just me. It's humans. And it's what we can do when we never give up." The rogue fleet, demoralized and outmaneuvered, began to retreat. Marcus and Leora pursued cautiously, ensuring that no hidden threats remained. By the time the battle ended, the fleet had been neutralized, many of its ships disabled without unnecessary destruction. The Coalition envoys, who had once mocked Marcus, now watched in silence. Their expressions were a mixture of disbelief and admiration. The human who had been given a cruel joke, a fallen queen, had not only restored her strength but led her to triumph over a fleet no alien civilization could defeat alone. After the battle, the galaxy began to take notice. Word spread quickly. A human had lifted a fallen queen higher than any alien had dared, not through force alone, but through intelligence, courage, and determination. Some civilizations celebrated the victory, seeing the potential of collaboration between species. Others were wary, recognizing the emergence of humanity as a powerful force in the galaxy. Leora, now fully restored, looked at Marcus with a mixture of respect and gratitude. "You have done more than heal me," she said. "You have restored my spirit, enhanced my power, and shown the galaxy what humans are capable of. I owe you more than words can express." Marcus shook his head. "I didn't do this alone. Humans survive because we care, because we adapt, because we never give up. And you trusted me. Together we lifted each other higher. The bond between human and queen became legendary. They worked together not just as allies but as equals." Marcus learned from Leora's wisdom, her knowledge of alien civilizations, and her leadership experience. Leora learned from Marcus's ingenuity, his resourcefulness, and the human ability to find solutions where others saw impossibility. In the days that followed, the Coalition began to respect humanity in a way it never had before. Humans were no longer seen as weak or insignificant. They were recognized as problem solvers, innovators, and allies capable of extraordinary feats. One day, as Marcus and Leora looked out over a calm section of the galaxy from the observation chamber, she spoke softly. "Marcus, do you realize what we have done? Not just defeating the fleet, but changing perception. Humanity is no longer underestimated." Marcus nodded. "I know, and it's only the beginning. There is so much more we can achieve if we continue to trust each other, to work together, and to never give up." Leora smiled, her energy glowing steadily. "Then we continue, not as queen and human, but as partners, allies, friends." "Yes," Marcus agreed. "Partners. Together we can rise higher than anyone has imagined." The galaxy had witnessed a miracle. A human, given what was meant to be a cruel joke, had lifted a fallen queen to her full glory. Not by domination, not by force alone, but by ingenuity, patience, and heart. Marcus had proven that humanity's strength was not in weapons or numbers, but in courage, adaptability, and the ability to inspire and elevate those around them. And Leora, the fallen queen, had risen again, not just to power, but to understanding, respect, and unity. She became a symbol across star systems of what could be achieved when species looked beyond prejudice and worked together. The mockery of the past became a story of triumph. The human who had been underestimated had proven the galaxy wrong. Humanity had arrived not to dominate, but to lift others higher, and in doing so, humanity had lifted itself. Marcus looked at Leora, her silver hair catching the glow of distant stars. "The galaxy thought this was a joke," he said softly. "But we've shown them it wasn't. It was a chance to rise higher, together." Leora's eyes glimmered. "And we did. Beyond what anyone expected, beyond what even I imagined." In that moment, the galaxy seemed to pause. A human and an alien queen, side by side, had rewritten expectations, proven impossible tasks achievable, and shown the universe that determination, intelligence, and heart could triumph where power alone might fail. The story of Marcus and Leora became a legend. The fallen queen had been restored, humanity had been recognized, and the galaxy had learned that greatness could come from the most unexpected places. And as Marcus looked out at the endless stars, he felt the quiet pride of knowing that humans, even small and underestimated, could lift others and themselves higher than anyone else in the galaxy ever imagined.